What is up, everybody? My name is Chris, and I know how to read, allegedly. And today we're going to be filming my first YouTube video for this channel. I'm so excited. I'm so hyped. I've been wanting to do this for a very long time. As you can tell by the title, this is going to be the booktube newbie tag, and I want to give a big shout out. I have their names written down here. Kyra Stewart and Lit Vibes with 5. They were the ones who gave me the idea to kind of do this in the first place. I'd never heard of a newbie tag or a booktube newbie tag at all, so I want to give a big shout out to them. For those of you that haven't heard of a booktube newbie tag like me, it's just a series of questions that got started years and years ago that a bunch of booktubers have started using as a way to introduce themselves to the community, and that's what I hope to do with my questions. Get your snack, I got my coffee right here, and we could get started. So the first question that I have is, why did I start this channel? And it's for a variety of reasons. First and foremost, I have re-fallen into love with reading in the past few years. I have started buying more books. I've started reading more books. I bought a used Kindle. That's not where I thought I'd be in my life, but that's where I am. And I've always had that issue that I'm sure a lot of kids have had when they were in college or in high school, where when you're forced to read certain books, you're not really that interested in that aspect of reading because it's forced upon you, you know. But now that I'm an adult and I can do what I want with my time, I'm choosing to read, and it's so fun and it's so cool. The second thing is primarily I've been needing a creative outlet recently. I have a full-time job. I work 45 hours a week, and I have hobbies outside of my job, obviously, but I don't have kind of that creative outlet that I've pretty much searched for and wanted for a really long time. On a different YouTube channel, I used to record like 2K videos, like basketball videos with my friends, and that entire process was so much fun because I got to play video games and I got to record and edit and do all that, and it was such a good time. And even if the videos didn't get a bunch of views, like, I had a very fun time doing it, and that's something that I've missed. And that was a few years ago I did that. So now that I'm finally hopping back into it, I got everything set up. I hope y'all like the background. I got everything set up, and now I can kind of put more time and effort into it. And probably the main reason, outside of it being a creative outlet for me, was that I kind of noticed that there wasn't a lot of people that looked like me making booktube content, and maybe that's my fault. Maybe I didn't do all the research, but there weren't a lot of Hispanic men with tattoos that look and talk like me making booktube content. And to get a little personal, when I was working at an elementary school, I was kind of the only young Hispanic man with tattoos, and back then I had my braids. I was the only person that looked like me working at that school, and so it became really important to me to not only show the kids that I worked with, but also the adults and like my coworkers, that people that look and talk and dress and act, whatever you want to say, like me, can do that job and can do the job very well. So bringing that to booktube, I kind of just want to show a different love of reading, I guess. Like, everyone falls in love with reading for their own ways, and I just want to make sure that while I don't represent every Hispanic person on the planet, I want to make sure that at least one voice is heard amid everybody else's, you know. I hope that makes sense. I didn't write a script for any of this, so I hope that makes sense. Question number 2 is, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to booktube? Again, a couple of things here. Primarily, I don't have like one type of book I really like to read. I don't have any genres that like I flat out refuse to read or anything like that. I'll read whatever. I think that's one of the things I want to emphasize, is like, if y'all leave a comment down below or some video in the future, I get a recommendation on something to read, I'll read whatever, as long as it's good, you know. And another thing that I feel like isn't talked about a lot, when you see a lot of these like really big and YouTubers who have made it, booktubers I should say, who have made it, it's reading is their priority, reading is their job, and I am not one of those people. I have a full-time job, like I said. I have a bunch of other hobbies that I love and take time out of my day to do, and reading being one of them. But I feel like because I have sort of a lesser emphasis on reading in like my everyday life, when I read, it's important. And when I find a book that I like, I really, really like it, because like I love basketball, I love video games, I love cooking, hanging out with my friends. So if I'm taking time away from all of that to read, it better be a good book. And I feel like because I have sort of that that limitation of having other things that I want to do besides reading, it means when I do talk about a book or when I do talk about a subject, it means that much more to me. And it means so much that I can, hey, I have all this other stuff I have to worry about, but this book is so good that I have to share it with you. Question number 3, what are you most excited about for this new channel? Like I said earlier, I really love having a creative outlet. Even if no one watches these videos, like I still enjoy the process. Like it took me 20 minutes to set up this microphone. This is a Blue Snowball. It ain't the most complicated mic on the planet, but it took me like 20 minutes to set it up. But I love the recording process. I love the editing process. I love scripting out videos. Like the entire process I love. So that's really fun and really cool to me. And also just like having a community to talk about books. Like I have friends in my life who are readers, but it's only like a couple of people, you know? So being able to have the entire community of booktube to talk to, who might watch these videos, who I watch their videos, it's important to me, and it's going to be a good time, and I hope it's fun. That's the main thing. I just want to make sure I have fun. Question number 4, why do I love reading? Why does anyone love reading? Very open-ended question. Just being able to take time out of my day and kind of reflect on whether if it's like a fiction book, I want to be able to reflect on the journey that the main characters are going through, or whether it's a non-fiction book, I want to be able to like ruminate on what the book is teaching me, what the book is telling me. So being able to learn and being able to have kind of that escape from my personal life, I think is probably the most important aspect when it comes to why I read. Book number 5, what book got you into reading? Now I know a bunch of people are probably going to answer this like,
oh, I don't have a certain book, or oh, I have a series I like.
No, y'all want to know what book I love? 100 Things You Should Know About Pirates. I don't know where I'm going to put a picture on the screen, but it's going on the screen. Let me tell you, my mom was a school teacher for a very long time. So when the Scholastic Book Fair came through, oh, it was an event, and I was there. So we're at the Scholastic Book Fair, right? And my mom gets me this book called 100 Things You Should Know About Pirates. And let me tell you, I had no interest in pirates up to that point. I don't even think Pirates of the Caribbean had come out. Or maybe it did and I hadn't heard of it. Whatever. When I tell you, I read this book probably 4 to 5 times, cover to cover. I know more than anybody in the world knows about pirates. Specifically, I know about 100 things about pirates. That's probably the first book that really got me into reading. There's also like other series that I read as a kid. A Series of Unfortunate Events I remember I would get at my elementary school library. And then let me think. Inkheart. I remember watching that movie with my mom. It was terrible, but Inkheart was like the first big boy book I would read. And then there's also like the Percy Jacksons and like the Captain Underpants, like all that stuff like I would read. But primarily 100 Things You Should Know About Pirates is going in the Hall of Fame of books I've read. Like a 6 star. I don't give out 6 stars, but that book is getting a 6 star. Question number 6 is, what questions would I have for fellow booktubers or my favorite booktubers? A lot of it for me kind of focuses on time management. So like I said, full-time job. I have stuff I want to do besides not just this channel, even though I'm going to start devoting a lot of time to this. But I also have like hobbies and stuff. So for me, it's like, how do you figure everything out? I'm going to make sure that if I were to ask any YouTubers any questions like that, it would be specifically like, what's the best avenue y'all have when it comes to scheduling everything out, essentially, or making time for everything. And also a question I have about reading. One of the things that got me started on this reading journey is I didn't know you could DNF a book, did not finish a book. I didn't know you could do that. I thought that once you started a book, you had to finish it. Because what if at the end of this book, there's some life-changing information that I wouldn't have read because I DNF'd the book? Even now, like I try to have a pretty good picker. So like if I pick a book, I know that I'm going to finish it, even if I might not love it. But I still struggle with DNFing books. So I guess if I could ask my favorite YouTube or booktuber or something, I think it would be like, what's the cutoff point for a DNF'd book? Because like one of my friends, she DNFs a book if it like looks at her wrong, and I'm like, how do you do that with all the information that's in there? You could have, even if it's bad, you could be like, man, I read that and I know it's bad, but how can you just DNF it without finishing it? Number 8, when did I start reading? I started reading really young. Like I said, my mom was a teacher and my sister was a reader. So books were always at the house. Number 9, where do I read? Anywhere. Like I said, I'll read in bed, I'll read on the couch, I'll read at the gym. If I can bring a book or a Kindle, I'm going. Like, I have one of those like crossbody bags, and one of my main like points that I was looking for when I was shopping the bag was, can it fit a regular book? Because it can fit, and by regular I mean like paperback, because if it's big enough to fit a regular book, it can fit a Kindle. Essentially anywhere I can read a book, I'm taking it, especially as I'm trying to be on my phone less, so it works out. Second to last question number 10, what kind of books do you like to read? I think I mentioned this earlier. I'll read anything. Like, if someone gives me a very good recommendation for a book and they're like, hey, I don't know if you'll like this, but I liked it, I'll give it a shot. You know, that was one of my favorite books of the year, Overstory. I forgot the Richard Prowers or something. I could be making that up completely, at least the author. I didn't know anything about that book. I knew that it was lauded as like one of the greatest books ever, and also that it was about trees. That is quite literally the only thing I knew about that book. A couple hundred pages later, one of my favorite books ever. And I think I also said this earlier. I stuck with nonfiction for a long time, and I think that's more just like a guy thing. Not to put gender on it, but it's like,
I don't want to read a book about fairies and magic or some imaginary people. I want to read books about finances.
I really enjoyed this kind of era that I'm in personally, of just reading whatever's in my hands and enjoying it, or at least trying to find enjoyment in it. There are books, like I said, I have trouble DNFing books, but there are books that I've finished reading that I didn't very much like, which I'm sure we'll discuss in future videos. But I will finish a book, not really like it, and be like, man, I feel like someone could have done this topic better. And then I find another book on that same topic or that same genre, and then they do it better, and you're like, okay, this is what I was looking for. One of the things I want to get into is fantasy. I really want to get into fantasy books. When I had the pleasure and the very, very fortunate opportunity to go to Chicago a few years ago, and while I was there, I went to a bookstore and I got a copy of The Way of Kings, I think it's called, by Brandon Sanderson, and I've heard that's one of the best fantasy books ever, and it's a thickums. It's a thickum book. So I know I'm gonna read that eventually, and I'm really excited about getting into that. I'm all for reading a romance. I am all for reading a romance book. It just has to be good. You know, what's this? Let's derail this. Why is it that when I go to Barnes and Noble with the homies, there's a whole section on hockey related YA romance? Is that a poppin' genre? Like maybe I just don't understand what, like, I'm 26 years old. Maybe I don't understand what a young adult wants out of their romance novels. And look, they're professional athletes. Like, I get it. Hockey players, cool, whatever. But also a whole section? What that rant goes to show is I'm looking for recs. I'm looking for recommendations. And the last question, which I found out isn't always done depending on whose booktube newbie tag video you're watching, but what does your book collection look like? You can tell there are no books behind me. There's some cool posters though. R.I.P. Kobe. And the next video that I'm going to be doing, which should be out in a few days after you guys see this video, after it gets uploaded, is going to be a tour of my library where we go over every book I own. So we're going to end on a cliffhanger. Oh no. But that's going to be it for today's video. First and foremost, I want to thank y'all for watching. I really appreciate it. Like I said, this is really just a creative outlet for me, and I really appreciate y'all watching and giving me the opportunity to discuss whatever I want to discuss. But today, for going through some questions with y'all so you can get to know me better, I really want to become a part of this small little booktube community that YouTube has going on, and I want to thank y'all for allowing me to be a part of it. If you like some of the words I be spitting on a regular basis, you can hit the subscribe button down below, like, comment, all that. Honestly, if you really want to help, leave some comments, leave some book recommendations, stuff you liked about this video, stuff that I could do to improve. One of the main things I want to prioritize with this little passion project of a channel is that I want to be part of a community, and I want to use this community to not only strengthen my love of reading, but also to have a creative outlet, like I've mentioned a few times. So again, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Big shout outs to Kyra Stewart and Lit Vibes with 5, who got me, essentially without even trying, got me to do this video. I'll put their channels down below so y'all could check them out. They're really cool. But yeah, again, thank you for letting me be a part of this. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch y'all next time. Peace.